the day Aunt Vesper met her end. I was elbow-deep in the damp, unyielding garden soil, wrestling with the heirloom roses she'd thrust upon me as a birthday gift. A parting token laced with her inscrutable intent. My phone screeched 3 times, a relentless banshee's cry piercing the quiet, before I tore off my mud-caked gloves in a fury to answer it. "Miss Saffron," a voice, icy and unfamiliar, cut through the line like a blade. "This is Torin, your Aunt Vesper's attorney. I bear a heavy burden of news. She's departed this world." My heart seized, a jagged rock plummeting into an abyss. The roses slipped from my shaking grasp, their thorns biting into my flesh as if echoing her sudden absence, drawing pinpricks of blood that stained the earth. "What happened?" I demanded, my voice fracturing under the strain. "She slipped into eternal sleep last night," he replied, his tone wavering as if reluctant to unleash the full weight. He added, voice dropping to a near whisper, "She issued a decree. I was to summon you first, before the scavengers of your kin could circle." I crumpled into the dirt, knees buckling as the world tilted. Aunt Vesper, the fierce soul who'd ignited my passion for stories, who'd slipped me chocolate chip cookies beneath the table at those suffocating family charades, who'd stood as a defiant pillar behind every reckless dream I dared to chase, was snuffed out. "Miss Saffron, are you still with me?" he pressed, urgency threading his words. "Yes," I rasped, clawing air into my lungs. "I'm here. What does she command of me now?" "She left a meticulous script for her funeral rites," he said, pausing as if steeling himself for the revelation. "And a letter, a volatile charge. You must unseal before the ceremony. Can you storm my office today?" If you love stories of resilience, reclaiming justice with style, and rediscovering your worth, hit that subscribe button for Graceful Revenge now. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Let's dive into the power of elegant revenge and life's deepest lessons together. I glared at the roses, Queen Elizabeth variety, Vesper's unrelenting obsession. She'd pressed them into my hands a mere 2 weeks prior, her eyes glinting with that maddening, mischievous spark that always hinted at deeper games. "These have woven through our lineage for centuries," she'd purred, her voice a velvet snare. "Just like the secrets we bury." Then I'd brushed it off as her typical enigmatic flourish. Now it loomed over me like a dark omen, heavy with unspoken menace. "I'll be there in an hour," I snapped at Torin, resolve hardening in my chest. His office was a bastion of ancient wealth, dark wood walls pressing in like a coffin, leather-bound tomes glaring from their shelves with silent judgment, a city skyline sprawling beyond the window in a display of opulence that mocked my modest life. He rose as I stormed through the door, his sympathetic smile a flimsy veil over something sharper. "Miss Saffron, your swiftness honors her memory. Please, take a seat." I flung myself into a plush leather chair, defiance warring with the dread coiling in my gut. "Torin, what twisted play is this? Why am I the first summoned?" He fished 2 envelopes from his desk with deliberate care. One a thick, official monstrosity stamped with his firm's crest. The other a delicate, cream-colored trap, my name scrawled across it in Vesper's florid, commanding script. "Your aunt was a tempest in human form," he said, voice low and measured. "A titan in trade, yet a tyrant of precision. She scripted her will and her farewell like a grand tragedy." "That's Vesper to her core," I murmured, a bitter laugh clawing its way out. He slid the cream envelope toward me with a gravity that made my skin prickle. "She insisted you read this in solitude, then we'll peel back the layers of the rest." My hands trembled as I seized the envelope. Vesper's perfume, roses and vanilla, wafted up, a spectral taunt that twisted the knife of her absence deeper. I tore it open with unsteady fingers, extracting a single sheet of her personal stationery, its edges worn as if she'd clutched it too long. My dearest Saffron, if this reaches you, my hourglass has run dry. Don't drown in tears. I've danced the wild, unscripted life I craved, a feat few can claim. But I've one final charge for you, my fierce, untamed niece. At my funeral, you'll unleash a letter, a tempest to shatter our family's fragile facade. It lies concealed in the secret heart of my jewelry box, the one I unveiled to you at 12. Recall the rose carving's cunning trick. Some will howl of vengeance. I name it justice, delayed but honed to a lethal edge. I've bequeathed you everything, Zephyr Industries, my amassed wealth, every last thread of my empire. But there's a snare. You must read that letter at my funeral, every kin pinned beneath its weight, no quarter given. It's a brutal gauntlet, I know, especially as grief gnaws at you. But you're my iron-wrought soul, Saffron, my unyielding truth-bearer. It can only be you. All my love, Vesper. P.S. If they dare drape me in beige, I'll rise from the grave to curse them. You know my hatred burns eternal. I devoured her words twice, each line a spark igniting fury and awe. Then locked eyes with Torin. She's dumped her entire kingdom on me? He nodded, cracking open the official envelope with a practiced flick. Zephyr Industries, her sprawling estate, investment portfolios, $89 million in assets, a fortune to rival kings. But it's a blood pact. You must fulfill her final edict. My mind spun, a vortex of disbelief and vertigo. Vesper's generosity had always been a lavish tide, but this was a deluge threatening to sweep me under. What of the others? Peregrine, Quill, Isolde? I demanded, voice sharp enough to cut glass. Mere scraps for them, he replied, his tone cool. But the Empire's crown is yours, if you dare seize it by her rules. I pictured Peregrine, his face twisted with decades of resentment at his sister's ascent. Thane, his stoic brother, ever in his shadow. Quill and Isolde, groveling like courtiers for years, salivating for her gold. Vesper at every family gathering, her piercing gaze slicing through their masks, waiting, like a predator coiled in the shadows, biding her strike. When's the funeral? I barked, impatience flaring. 3 days hence, he said. She choreographed every detail, St. Juniper's Cathedral for the service, then a reception at her estate. The entire clan must bear witness, no exceptions. I shot to my feet, clutching her letter like a loaded pistol. Then I've a jewelry box to plunder. Torin's voice chased me as I reached the door, a final arrow loosed. Miss Saffron, she left a warning. You'll wield the truth like a blade. The 40-minute drive to Vesper's estate stretched into an agonizing eternity. Questions gnawed at my skull like ravenous wolves. What festered in that second letter? What secret was so explosive she'd shackle her legacy to its detonation? The gates yawned open as I roared up the drive. She'd entrusted me with the code years ago, declaring me more reliable than her steel-clad sentinels. The mansion loomed ahead, a Victorian titan swathed in manicured chaos, roses clawing up its walls in a riot of crimson and pink. Maris, the housekeeper, stumbled out to meet me, her face a tear-streaked ruin. Miss Saffron, thank the stars you've come. She decreed her rooms are yours to ransack. Thank you, Maris. I'll be swift as a thief, I said, brushing past her trembling form. Vesper's bedroom perched on the second floor, a regal eyrie overlooking her rose-choked dominion. It screamed her essence. Silk curtains clashing in garish, defiant hues, modern art sneering beside faded family portraits, roses everywhere, their scent a suffocating siege. The jewelry box glowered on her dresser, Brazilian rosewood etched with floral menace, a relic pulsing with secrets. My fingers hunted the edge, snagging the rose carving's hidden latch with a predator's precision. "Third petal from the left," I hissed, her childhood lesson a lifeline etched in my bones. A sharp click fractured the silence, a panel sliding free like a trapdoor to the abyss. Inside, an envelope waited, wax-sealed, branded with the command, "To be read at my funeral." My grip faltered as I lifted it. It was heavy, swollen with what felt like photographs, a Pandora's box trembling with untold havoc. I nearly tore it open right there, desperation clawing at my restraint. But Vesper's will was forged in iron, every move a calculated thrust. If she demanded this unleashed at her funeral, before the whole family's gaping maws, her reasons were a guillotine poised to fall. I shoved it into my bag, eyes raking the room for answers. A framed photo on the bedside table stopped me dead. Vesper, young and ferocious, posed before Zephyr Industries' first office, her smile a dagger that sliced through every pretense, a silent vow of retribution. "What did you bury, Aunt?" I whispered, voice trembling with awe and dread. What truth festered for decades, waiting to erupt? The next 3 days were a maelstrom, funeral plans clashing with a crescendo of family hysterics. Peregrine called 6 times, his voice a frantic pendulum swinging between feigned concern and naked terror over the will's contents. Quill and Isolde bombarded me with texts, each message a shameless clawing for scraps, their greed laid bare. I clung to Vesper's sealed envelope like a talisman against the chaos. At night, I'd pull it out and stare, its weight a coiled serpent hissing with promise. What revelation could demand her empire as its price? What storm brewed within its folds? The funeral dawn blazed clear and merciless, the sky a cruel mirror to the turmoil below. I armored myself in a deep blue suit, Vesper's signature hue, and pinned a rose to my lapel, its thorns a silent oath to her memory. The envelope dragged my bag down like a cannonball primed to fire. St. Juniper's Cathedral heaved with bodies. Her family's ancient wealth and Vesper's towering legacy drew a throng like moths to a pyre. The pews brimmed with kin, tycoons, and officials, a volatile mix teetering on the edge of explosion. Peregrine ambushed me at the threshold, his face a grotesque mask of desperation. "Saffron, the will! Torrens a locked vault! What's brewing in that shadowed mind of yours?" I locked eyes with him, unflinching. "We'll all taste the revelation together, Peregrine. Vesper's will demands it." He seized my arm, fingers digging like talons. "If you're hiding something—" "Release me," I hissed, steel lacing my voice. "This is her stage. Show some shred of respect." The service dazzled, a spectacle worthy of her. No beige dared trespass. Roses bled red and pink across the altar in a defiant tribute to her fire. The minister's voice soared, extolling her brilliance, her charity, her relentless war on the mundane. Then, the moment struck like lightning. Torrens' nod from the front pew was a gunshot through my veins. I strode to the podium, envelope a burning brand in my hands, the air thick with anticipation. Silence smothered the cathedral as I faced the congregation. Peregrine glowered in the front row, a volcano trembling on the brink. Quill and Isolde leaned forward, carrion birds poised to feast on the fallout. I inhaled deeply, the rose's scent flooding my senses like a war cry. In that heartbeat, Vesper's phantom hand gripped my shoulder, urging me on. Before she was taken, I declared, my voice a blade slicing through the hush despite the thunder in my chest. Vesper left me a letter, a mandate carved in her blood. She demanded it unleashed here, now, before every soul who dared know her. I snapped the wax seal with a crack that echoed, hundreds of eyes boring into me like daggers. Inside, papers and photographs spilled forth. Peregrine's choked gasp ripped from the front, a raw animal sound. The first image, a young Vesper beside a stranger, blueprints clutched high, both grinning like conquerors defying fate. The second, that man at a skeletal construction site, the embryonic bones of Zephyr Industries rising from the dirt. My name was Vesper, I read, her words a clarion call. And this is the unvarnished truth of Zephyr Industries' birth. My hands held firm as I gave voice to her testament, ringing through the stillness like a tolling bell. My name was Vesper, and this is the truth of Zephyr Industries' birth. This man is Gideon, my partner in 1975, an engineering deity whose brilliance lit the world. He birthed what became our empire, though history dared erase him. Whispers erupted, a rising tide of shock. Peregrine's face drained to a ghastly white, a specter unmasked. Gideon and I collided at university, I pressed on, relentless. We dreamed of sustainable materials to remake a broken world. His genius fused with my cunning. We forged Zephyr's beating heart. Another photo, Vesper and Gideon, hands clasped over a contract, a pact sealed in ink and ambition. Equal partners, 50-50, patents, profits, every triumph ours. Until October 15th, 1976, when Gideon perished, branded a car accident by liars. Peregrine lurched to his feet, a beast cornered, but Thane yanked him down with a snarl. It was no accident, I read, voice rising. His brakes were severed, a murder cloaked in shadow. I learned too late, the case already entombed. Then I unearthed papers, filed mere hours before his death, stripping him bare, signed in his name. I stared Peregrine down, my gaze a lance. A signature forged by his partner, my brother, Peregrine. The cathedral detonated, gasps, cries, a chorus of disbelief. Peregrine surged up, face a grotesque snarl. "Cease this blasphemy," he bellowed, voice cracking with rage. "These are lies, venomous lies." "No," I countered, ice threading my calm. "This is truth." Vesper preserved the proof. I brandished the documents, contracts, forensic reports, buried police files, bank trails, a damning archive. She'd hoarded every shard of evidence like a dragon guarding its hoard. "Why now?" Quill's voice quavered, horror blooming as he gaped at Peregrine. I returned to the letter, unflinching. I unveil this now. I built Zephyr for 45 years into Gideon's dream, a monument to his vision. I fueled progress, sustainability, the rise of brilliant minds. But I watched Peregrine feast on his sin, raising Quill and Isolde to worship privilege over justice, their souls warped by his poison. Peregrine slumped back, a deflated husk, the fight bleeding out of him. I should have roared this truth sooner, I read, but the evidence came late. Zephyr sustained thousands. Exposing him then would have raised it all, crushing innocent lives in the rubble. I chose to wait, to fortify, to ensure survival when the storm broke. A final document emerged, a faded envelope for Gideon's daughter, Lyra. My last confession, I tracked Lyra through the years. I funded her silently. Her education, her green tech brilliance, every step shadowed by my hand. She's Gideon reborn, leading innovation, blind to my vigil. Gasps swelled as Lyra rose from the pews. Gideon's dark eyes blazing in her face, her presence a thunderclap. Vesper had orchestrated this, a masterstroke from beyond the grave. "My will's second act," I proclaimed, voice a rolling thunder, "grants Lyra 30% of Zephyr, restitution for her father's stolen legacy. Saffron claims the helm, my only kin with Gideon's honor burning in her veins." I faced the stunned throng. Signed Vesper, Zephyr's co-founder, keeper of its darkest shame. Silence crashed like a tidal wave. Lyra advanced, halting before Peregrine, now a broken shell, decades piling onto his frame. "All these years," she quavered, voice trembling with fury and grief. "I thought my father failed me, abandoned his dreams. I never knew the betrayal." "Lyra," I said, descending from the podium, "I grieve what they ripped from you." Tears streaked her face, fierce and unyielding. "You bared it all. Vesper guarded me, didn't she?" "Her atonement," I whispered, "carved in her own way." The reception was a battlefield, kin splintered into warring camps, those shrieking to bury the letter, those baying for police, others frozen in shell-shocked silence. Peregrine vanished post-service, a ghost fleeing the wreckage. Weeks later, he surfaced in rehab, guilt's prisoner, after 45 years of festering lies. Zephyr's truth erupted into public glare. Vesper was right. It endured the fire. Lyra's expertise and my resolve birthed a new dawn for the Empire. A year later, I stood in Vesper's rose garden, a riot of untamed beauty stretching before me. Lyra joined me, our weekly council a blend of strategy and shared ideals under the weight of our inheritance. "Odd, isn't it?" she mused, brushing a Queen Elizabeth rose with reverence. "I felt a shadow guiding me, a force shaping my path. I thought it was Gideon's spirit. Now I see Vesper's hand." "She shielded us all," I said. "Zephyr, its people, you, even Peregrine, in her twisted mercy. She couldn't let truth rot in her grave." Lyra pondered, eyes distant. "Was waiting right?" "She wrestled an impossible beast," I replied. "She turned fraud into a force for good, secured you, and struck on her stage, unbowed." "Regrets?" she pressed. I gazed at the roses, Vesper's smile a haunting specter. "No, she picked me to wield this fire. She knew I'd face the inferno and stand." "She'd revel in this," Lyra said, nodding at Zephyr's distant spire, a beacon against the horizon. A true pact, like her and Gideon's lost dream. I touched a rose, its petals soft against my calloused fingers. She said these held secrets, passed down like a curse. Now we plant truth, unity, creation over theft. Lyra gripped my hand, a silent vow. Our fathers would cheer from the beyond. That night, in Vesper's study, now my sanctum, I found a note tucked into her old desk calendar, penned in her elegant hand on the day she slipped away. Dearest Saffron, you've obeyed. You met truth head-on, unbroken by its weight. I chose you to mend Zephyr, to resurrect Gideon's dream from the ashes. Next spring, the roses will bloom anew. Beauty rises from rot if you dare sow it. All my love, Vesper. I tucked it into my drawer with care, gazing at the garden where the setting sun bathed the roses in molten gold. Vesper left me more than wealth, a crusade to right ancient wrongs, to forge meaning from ruin, to prove truth's late bloom can outshine the darkest lies. Tomorrow, Zephyr's burdens would descend. Meetings, decisions, the relentless grind of a multi-million-dollar empire. Tonight, I sat in her rose-wrapped silence, knowing legacies aren't measured in gold, but in the truths we bear. Like Vesper, I'd wield mine, not to raise, but to heal, crafting beauty from the ashes of betrayal. That's what she did. That's what she forged me for. Somewhere, her smile gleamed. Proud, her final secret blazed into the light.